Hello, everyone. Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well. It's been a minute. I know I'm not being consistent as I used to be with the shows, but I'm here. I'm here, and we're going to have another exciting episode today. Talking everything immigration. I have an amazing lawyer who's gonna, one, I want to find out, why he got into law in the first place. Was he forced by the Ghanaian parents? With Ghanaian parents, you can only be five, professions. And hi, Misty. And I want, obviously, as you know, I want to know where you guys are watching me from. Um, yes, where are you right now? Hi, Kay, how are you? Hey, you've been monitoring me, eh? Hi, UK. Hey, sis. Thank you for always joining. Really appreciate you. Um, Misty, where are you watching me from? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Come on, guys, get on the comments box. Let me know where you are and how you are doing. And if you know the topic that we're going to be discussing today, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a very, very good conversation. Okay, what's happening? How you doing? Sandra, watching from the UK. Hey, Sandra. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Where's everybody? Where's everybody? Where's everybody? Denmark. Hey, New York City's in the house. What's up? Texas. Yay. Fantastic. I love having a mixture of people. And is anybody coming to Hey, I am so sorry. My internet decided to just disgrace me. I hope you guys can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Can everyone see me now? Let me know. Thank you for staying on, guys. I know the connection was definitely jammed. Like it was just not nice. So I've got people watching us from Atlanta. Hi. Hey. Okay, I'm going to go right into the conversation. I've got lawyer Douglas with me. Hi, lawyer.
Oh, then yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Thank goodness. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's a good day to be alive. It's
Yes,
all good.
definitely.
How about yourself?
Definitely. I'm good too. I'm good too. So, whereabouts are you in the US? We've got a lot of US people actually watching at the moment.
Phoenix, Arizona. My office is located downtown Phoenix.
Okay, is that where you've lived like when you like since you've been in the US?
Oh, actually, I used to live in Washington State, Spokane. Spokane is about 4 hours south of Seattle, and so
Okay.
I used to live in Spokane, and I moved to Arizona in 2019. And,
Oh, okay. Is it better? Would you
weather, yeah,
say?
the weather is much better. You know,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
it's you get 3 months of really terrible weather and then 9 months of excellent weather. So that's always good.
That's good. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's
So
also
you go
it's a big
ahead.
city, and immigrants, and it's uh, it's a place to be if you want to practice immigration law. There's a lot of immigrants and things like that.
Okay. So what made you go into law, lawyer? Because I said in the beginning, was it your parents? Because Ghanaian parents, there's just a few professions that they all want their daughter and sons to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. So were you forced, or was it something that you had a passion for?
I think it's a mixture of both. I've um,
There's both, eh?
yeah, because primarily, I mean, it's my mom's dream. There's in Ghana and also in the UK. The lawyers wear blonde wigs and black robes, and there was something about that my mom really liked, and so she always wanted me to be that. I don't know if she wanted me to practice for the sake of practicing or just for the costume, but either way, she it was something she wanted, and it was something that was just implanted in me ever since I was a child, so I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. So when I came to America, I ended up joining the military, the army. I served
Okay.
for 6 years, and
Wow.
it was sort of a direct transition because I went to boarding school in Ghana at Disador College, and
Oh,
so
I did see that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. The the transition was sort of seamless, hanging out with a bunch of boys, structured, wake up early in the morning, go to bed at a certain time, and that structure was already there from my disco days, and so it was a seamless transition. But in terms of a career choice, it was always implanted in me to be an attorney, and I couldn't think of anything else. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and then your work ends up impacting the lives of people, and so you get the gratitude from that, and that becomes sort of addicting, if you would, and then you end up doing it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. So today we're going to be discussing a few kind of issues, I would say. Since you've been in the US and you said that the state that you're in has a lot of immigrants and so there's a lot of immigration cases, etc. What type of cases are you coming across since you've been there?
I think the most basic one, especially if you live in a place like Arizona, because Arizona is a border town, and so majority of our caseload is removal defense. People cross the border and they get
Yeah.
arrested and they get detained, and you have to defend them and get them out of the detention facility, and then chart sort of a pathway for them to become legal, permanent residents or get an employment-based authorization or things of that nature. And so in Arizona, the removal defense is heavy, and then there's of course the family-based petitions, where people want to petition for their family members, immediate family members, or parents, or spouse, or um, or children. And so we do a lot of that. And recently we've sort of chanced upon visa for nurses, EB3 visa for nurses. We've done it for about 4 or 5 years now, but recently it's become very popular, and so
wow.
we do a lot of those as well.
Okay, so nurses from the UK, Ghana, Africa, how does it work?
Well, nurses from anywhere really, but
Okay.
my firm had been focused on West Africa, so Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, some parts of Kenya.
Okay.
But the idea is that, if they're registered nurses in their home country, there's a huge nursing shortage in America. If you watch the news, I'm sure you would see that there's strikes and all kinds of lockouts going on in the nursing profession. And so, there's a huge need for them. They have to, first of all, be registered nurses in their home country. And then they have to take the NCLEX, the nursing board exams, and pass it, and then once they pass the exams, my firm does their immigration application, and then we help them immigrate to the U.S. The fantastic thing about that program is that it's a green card. It's a permanent residency card. And you get to bring your immediate family members. So if you're married and you have children, they get to come along, and it's all expenses paid, so the nurse doesn't have to spend a dime.
Wow.
Themselves and
I'm a nurse, right?
Well, yeah, but you don't. I don't think you're actually practicing nursing.
I do practice. I still have my PIN.
Yeah. Oh, if
maybe I want to get my green card in the US.
if you're interested in ever immigrating to the US on a permanent basis, let me know. I don't think it would work very well for you though, because part of the requirements of having a permanent residency or green card is that you have to spend majority of your time in the US. So you have to spend a minimum of 6 months, 180 days in the US.
Otherwise, at any given time, does it have to be straight on, or it can be like batches?
Well, cumulatively, you have to spend a majority of your time in the US more than you do outside.
Okay.
Because if you spend more than 6 months, it's deemed that you've abandoned your permanent residency, right?
Right.
And with your kind of work and the traveling, I don't know if that would that would be something that would work for you.
We'll see. We'll have a talk on the side. We'll see. But okay, that's interesting, and I wonder why that you're seeing that increase. Like, was it COVID? A lot of nurses, I don't know. Is it COVID that kind of they lost a lot of nurses, or people weren't interested in nursing? Is that why there's like a demand for nurses now? Because it's the same in the UK. So the UK also recruiting Ghanaian nurses and Nigerian nurses, and so I just wonder, what's happened and where's that shift?
Well, the biggest one is the aging population. America is facing an aging population where the baby boomers, as they're called, the majority of the workforce are retiring, and a lot of the nurses are in that generation, and they're sort of retiring out. The new generation, people are sort of hesitant to go into nursing as a profession, for one. The other one is that the nursing schools don't have the infrastructure or the resources to be able to educate as many nurses, and so there's literature out there that you can find that would tell you that a lot of the nursing schools are turning away a bunch of applicants, even though we have a nursing shortage in the country. So it's sort of a combination of the aging population, and there's strikes, about the nurses wanting better pay and better working conditions. They don't want to be overworked, and they want better pay. And so, all of those have sort of created this perfect storm for a need for international nurses, and it's been here for a very long time. It's not new.
Okay.
It's just being advertised a lot more now.
Okay. And then what about waivers?
Yeah, so we do waivers as part of the immigration application. People get waivers for all kinds of reasons. So there's a waiver called the 601 waiver. And the 601 waiver is used for a variety of inadmissibility. inadmissibility means that you've violated some sort of immigration law, or you've done something that prevents you from being able to be admitted to the U.S. So, for example, if you lie on an immigration application and get caught, that's a grounds for inadmissibility. If you overstay your visa, those are grounds for inadmissibility. Criminal record, things like that. And so, if say you're petitioning for a family member and you've been found inadmissible, or the family member has been found inadmissible in the past, we can apply for a waiver. Uh, One of well, I guess the major thing you have to prove to be able to get a waiver is that you have to prove that your denial would cause extreme hardship to a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen has to be a qualifying relative.
Okay.
And so those options are available, but they're not exactly very easy to get.
Okay. Okay. So what about the family-based immigration?
The family-based immigration is sort of the quintessential immigration application that everybody knows about, right? Your parent or your parents live in the U.S. They're U.S. citizens, and they want to sponsor their children, or you marry a U.S. citizen, and they want to bring their spouse, or even a K-1 visa. A family-based petition just basically, I mean, it's just like the name sounds, a family member petitioning and sponsoring the other family member to become a U.S. citizen or to become a permanent resident. And the various types we have is the parent-child, family relationship, the spouse, relationship, and there's a lesser known one, which is a sibling one, where
Okay.
if your sibling is a U.S. citizen, your brother or your sister is a U.S. citizen, they can petition for you. Now that,
Right.
the current waiting period for that is about 16 years. And so if you petition for your brother or your sister, it's going to take at least 16 years for them to immigrate to the U.S.
16 years.
Yeah. Yeah. The visa bulletin comes out on a monthly basis, and that tells us what the priority dates are and what the various waiting periods are. But yeah, the waiting period for a sibling visa right now, a sibling petition right now, is about 16 years. But
That's
you know,
ridiculous.
it's I always tell people that immigration is sort of it's a long-term play, right? You think of it as sort of estate planning, and when you go see an estate plan attorney, you're not necessarily planning for now. I mean, although there's a certain aspect of the planning that requires now, but most of the planning is forward thinking, and it's the same thing for immigration. And so let's say, for example, somebody comes here on a student visa, and they're fortunate enough to get a permanent residency through employment. So now they have a green card, and they want to help their family immigrate to the US. You go see an immigration lawyer to develop a strategy to get your family to the US. And the best way to do it would be that if their parents are alive, they can sponsor their parents. Then their parents could in turn sponsor the rest of their siblings. Because if they sponsor their own siblings, it's going to take forever, right? So they do it through the parents, and the parents in turn does it for the siblings. But it's sort of a forward thinking and a planning and strategizing section that you need to do. And unfortunately, most people only see an immigration lawyer when they're in trouble. When they've done,
Yes.
when they've done something that wasn't done properly, and there's problems with it. That's when you go see an immigration lawyer. Which,
True.
one, it makes it very expensive for you, and
Yeah.
you could have avoided a lot of the pitfalls.
Sure. Sure. What about if you've got like a business in the US? Can you buy a franchise and get residency? Like, how does that work? I know a lot of people here that have businesses in the US and are looking for those type of opportunities as well.
Yeah, it's an EB2 visa. The
Okay.
EB2 visa. Unfortunately, only certain countries can participate in the citizens of certain countries can participate. The UK is one of them, but it's an
Yeah.
exhaustive list of countries that can participate in the
Okay.
EB2 visa, where you have to invest a significant amount of money into the U.S. economy, and that could be by purchasing an existing business or starting one, and then you could get a visa to come live and work in the U.S. Now, it's a non-immigrant visa, and so you get a visa that you can renew when it comes up to the
Okay.
on the investment visas. There's only one that gives you a path to permanent residency, and that's
Hmm.
the EB5 visa.
Okay.
A lot of people, the average person does not qualify for the EB5 visa because it requires you to invest a significant amount of money.
How
And
much are we looking at roughly?
well, you're looking at a minimum $800,000 to $1 million, to be
Okay.
able to go for that. So the average person, I'm sure there's people out there who that's not an issue for, but for the average immigrant,
Oh
that's a
yeah,
lot of money.
that's a lot of money. Yeah.
And so it sort of pushes them out of that eligibility. But it's an option where if you invest money in that neighborhood, you can get permanent residency.
Mm, okay, that's good to know because yeah, I think a lot of people are also looking at that. But I think what really interests me is um, definitely the. What about? Oh, actually, let's talk about the finance petition. What is that one about?
The what?
The finance petition.
Yeah, so I think it's that's a misspelling. That's it's the fiance visa petition.
Oh, fiance petition. Okay, okay, okay,
K1 visa petition.
okay.
If are a U.S. citizen and you go ahead.
No, but I heard that that one is taking long as well.
The average time frame. So there's two parts involved in the process. The first part
Okay.
is the petition that we do in the U.S. and that takes about a year for you to get a decision. Now, when that application gets granted, it gets sent to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center then forwards that approved application to your local consulate. So if you're in Ghana, in Accra, the embassy in Accra, and then you get an email from the National Visa Center informing you that they'd forwarded your application over and that, inviting you to complete the application process with your DS-160 form online. The problem with most West African countries with that specific visa is that after you've applied and submitted everything online, you have to wait for an interview date. And
Mm-hmm.
it's my understanding that in Nigeria specifically, people are buying those interview dates, and so you can get an interview date, and there's some sort of a system where people are pre-booking these things and then turning around and selling it to other people, which makes it difficult to get the interview dates. But the delay in that process is getting the interview date. On our end, it only takes a year to get the petition through, but then you have
Okay.
to wait for an interview day, which nobody knows how long that would take or when that would
Okay.
even come.
Okay. But now, like, even normal visa dates in Ghana right now is 2024, like September, October 2024. Is there a reason why things are like delaying? Is it a backlog or is it just the US don't want people in or what is it?
Oh, the common misconception is that the U.S. doesn't want people to come to the U.S. That's actually the opposite of that. The U.S. does encourage legal immigration. The U.S. wants people to come to the U.S. who have good intentions of coming, of being here, and then also have something to contribute to the society. But in terms of why there's a huge backlog, I mean, I think part of it is stemmed from COVID. And then there's also other people who go and they buy these interview dates, and then they make it hard for the normal person to be able to book a date. There's actually a YouTube video of the ambassador in Nigeria talking about this specific issue of people buying the interview dates and making it hard for other people to be able to get interview dates.
Right.
But some of these problems are sort of we bring it on ourselves, right? I mean, there's other countries where you can get interviews within weeks, but when it comes to Ghana and Nigeria, you have to wait sometimes years to even get an interview date.
Yeah. It is absolutely crazy. Like how, but then you look at another point where there's so many people now just really want to leave the country because of hardship, because of different situations, and sometimes you think that that it looks like the Americans and stuff, they are kind of taking our best talents, right?
Well,
Don't you
yeah, I mean,
think?
yeah, that's always been a problem. That I'm sure you've encountered people who are phenomenal in their fields and they have something to contribute to our country, And then when you talk to them, they tell you of a time where they tried going back home and the frustrations they encountered, and then they just gave up on that process. And so if somebody is talented and they have major contributions to make to their home country, and the conditions in their home country, you know, not only do not make it conducive, but also actively frustrate their efforts, I mean, they're going to leave. That's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
You can't really blame people in that situation. But yeah.
Yeah. So out of like, some people want quick visas. So out of this list of like of like things, which one is like the quickest one, would you say?
Well, so on that list, there's the EB2 National Interest Waiver, um,
Okay.
and then there's also H-1B visas, which is not on that list.
Okay.
Now,
What is that one?
the EB2 National Interest Waiver is a visa that, to be eligible for that visa, you have to show that you have an advanced degree or you have an exceptional ability. So speaking of talent, leaving Ghana,
Mm,
to be able to qualify for that, you have to show that you're special. you know,
right.
you have an advanced degree, typically a master's degree or PhD, or that you're a person of exceptional ability.
Mm.
And if you meet those two requirements, you could self petition, which is the great thing about it. You don't need an employer to petition for you, so you can
Oh,
petition for
really?
yourself. Yeah, you can petition for yourself and prove to the government that you're special. You have an advanced degree. Your endeavor would contribute to society and the American society. And if you're successful in proving that, you get an immigrant visa to migrate to the U.S. And
Wow.
the timeline on that, recently it's retrogressed a little bit. I want to say the timeline is about 16 months, process for you to get that
Not
approved.
bad.
It's not bad, but back to what we're talking about Thailand migrating from
Yeah.
Ghana. This is it. Um, the U.S.
Yeah.
creates incentives for people with exceptional abilities to be able to leave their country and come and contribute.
See, would you think me fit under exceptional abilities? Nana, what am I fit here now?
Of course, of course. I think with me, or no problem.
That's great. Okay, so guys, if you have any questions, please do let me know. And lawyer, sorry, because my thing went off, your number and email also went off. So if you can retype it for me, I would really
Sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Um,
Sure.
but yeah, so if you are a nurse in, in West Africa, in Ghana, there is an opportunity for you to travel to the US and work there. And then all of this is so, okay, so with that, do you have to get like a hospital that's gonna, like, do you have to apply to a hospital first? Like, what is the process of that? Because I don't know if you can just.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the registered nurses, first of all, you have to be a registered nurse in your home country,
Mhm.
right? So CNAs and caregivers, they don't count. It has to be a registered nurse.
Okay.
And once you have that, you go through credential evaluation, where CGFNS or Josephsonian and Associates are the institutions that typically do that. They evaluate your credentials to make sure that your education and your qualifications match the American system.
Right.
And once you get through that process, you register and you go sit for the exams. And in Africa, you have to go to either South Africa to take the exams, or I think a lot of people go to India actually before this South African e-visa thing became a reality. Most people used to go to India to take it, but now that South Africa Ghanaians can
It's
go to South
opened
Africa,
up. Yeah.
that would make it much easier for them to be able to do that. And so you register, you go sit for the exams, and then once you pass the exams, we have staffing agency clients that would take a look at your resume and offer you a job. And I can tell you, from the contracts that I've seen, that the pay rate is between $35 to $50 an hour. Westway
Really?
Westway Staffing Services is one of those agencies, and their starting pay is $50 an hour, for nurses out of Ghana, or out of West Africa. You know,
Wow.
and you, in exchange for that, you have to work for them for a period of 2 years. And then,
2 years.
but you
Okay.
get your green card right away. You don't have to wait to get your green card after the 2 years. You get your green card right away, and then you complete your contract with them, and then you're free to go work for whoever you want to work for.
Wow. And so in that process, so when you are traveling, can you take your family members with you straight away, or is it after the 2 years? How does that work in terms of applying for like for your husband or your children?
Yeah, your immediate family, they come with you right away. If you're already married, and you have children under the age of 21, they come with you right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Why is it just under 21?
Well,
If
because
you,
the U.S. definition of a child, and the various categories, for children under the age of 21, you can apply for them, and they get green cards immediately. For people over the age of 21, there's a waiting period, and so if they're over the age of 21, you can still petition for them, but they will join you at a later date, just
okay,
not immediately.
not immediately. Okay. There's a question from JD King. If you are a US citizen and you have a child in home country, does he or she become immediate citizen or you have to apply for them?
Yeah, so if you're already a U.S. citizen and it's called a foreign birth abroad. You basically just gave birth abroad, and
Mm.
you need to register that birth with the embassy. And if you're a U.S. citizen at the time they're born, they're automatically citizens. And so you register their birth at the local consulate, and then you can get them their documents that way.
Okay. And that doesn't take long?
No, no. I mean, there's a section of the embassy that does for citizenship, citizen services, and so you would go there and then do the registry through that program, and it doesn't take long at all.
Okay. So there's a King. I hope that's answered your question. But there's a lot of people that are going to America and overstaying, and sometimes I think that's why US visa they're bouncing a lot of people because they're not sure whether they're going to go and stay. Um, but for those who have stayed, is there a way at all for them to get citizenship, or they have to come back?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on the avenue by which they're trying to get citizenship.
Okay.
Well, first off, before they can get citizenship, they have to get permanent residency first. So if they came in legally, they came in on a tourist visa, B1, B2 visa,
Yeah,
and then
B1 visa.
they end up overstaying their visa. If they marry a U.S. citizen, that it's an automatic waiver of their unlawful presence, and so they can get permanent residency by virtue of marrying a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
If they came in illegally, they would have to exit the country, would apply for the waiver gets granted, and then they have to exit the country and re-enter legally. Which, of course, it's a scary proposition for a lot of people. But if you have a good immigration lawyer who knows what they're doing, the risks are substantially lower, and you should be able to come back in.
Okay. Okay. The Rock, I'm not really understanding. They want all, is it teachers in Africa over here and FBA over there to trade places with us? I'm not sure. Rock. So please come back again. Samuel, does nurses assistants also have any opportunity?
Yeah, Samuel, that's a good question. The answer is yes. Nursing assistants have an opportunity, although it's a more cumbersome process than it is for registered nurses. Uh, so for nursing, I mean, any profession really can immigrate to the U.S. The biggest hurdle on that pathway is that the employer has to prove to the government that there's nobody else in America who would take the job that they're offering you. So they first of all have to go through advertisement and recruiting to offer that job to U.S. citizens or people or permanent residents, people who are already in the U.S. before they offer it to the foreign worker. And typically that is a very cumbersome and long process, and most employers are not willing to go through that process to get it. The thing about registered nurses is that they've been classified as a Schedule A profession, which means that the Department of Labor has recognized and realized that there's a shortage of nurses, And so they've exempted nurses from going through that recruitment or perm process. And so
Right.
nurses, people who are employing nurses don't have to prove to the government that there's a shortage. The government has come out and recognized, that there's a shortage of nurses. So you don't have to go through. But all these other professions, CNAs included, would have to go through that process. But you'd first of all have to find an employer who is willing to go through that process with you. And then once you identify an employer, they can go through that.
Who's this lawyer? How can I get close to Dental without a visa, please? Ah,
I guess that's more of a yeah,
I don't even know what to say to
that's more of a
that, but
personal question. I think you have a personal admirer, Denta.
yes. Okay, the word cumbersome even here in the UK, even with career progression routes. Yeah. Okay. So how about a non-immigrant student who studied in the US?
Well, it depends on it depends on the program that they studied,
Okay.
which is something that um, and as we do these things, then that's one of the demographics that I want to focus on. I think that most people who come in on an F1 visa need to be educated, and they need to have sort of a strategy in place. Most people, when they apply for a student visa, myself included, when I applied for a student, because I came to America on a student visa,
Okay.
on an F1 visa. When I came to America on an F1 visa, I had no idea what the next 2, 3, or even 4 years is going to look like, and I had no plan of no action plan as to whether or not I'm going to get a green card at the end of it, and what that process is going to look like. And so one of the things that international students, or people who come here on an F1 visa, have to do, the greatest service they can do for themselves, is develop a strategy, and that strategy includes your course of study. And so if you're coming here to study, let's say, computer programming or software engineering, or something like that, you have to first of all figure out at the end of your program what is your next step. Are you going to return back home, or are you going to try to find an employer who would sponsor you in the US? And if your plan is to find an employer, you have to figure out whether or not the specific career choice that you're choosing is in high demand. And if your career choice is not in high demand, then that plan goes out the window, because it's going to be difficult for you to find an employer who will sponsor you, right? And so, again, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the nurses is sort of the easiest one. Physical therapist is also another one. So if you go
Okay.
to school and you graduate and become a physical therapist, it's in the
What
same.
about speech therapists?
Say again?
Speech therapists?
No, just physical therapist.
Okay. Physiotherapist. Okay. Okay.
And so it depends on your program and your course of study. And we do offer obviously free consultations. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody who reaches out to me, and I could together we can devise a 4 or 5 year strategy for you, based on what your plans are after your course of study is completed.
Okay. And I know in the UK, if the nurses are coming over, there is like a little test that you have to do. Is it similar going to the US? Would you
Yes,
have to do
the
a test?
it's the NCLEX, right? The NCLEX, the nursing board exams, and so they have to take. That's what they go to India or South Africa to take. They have to take and pass
Okay. Okay.
and then and the good thing about that process is that it costs about between $3,500 to $5,000 for a nurse to go through that entire process. So you pay for the NCLEX prep course, you pay for your flight ticket to the testing center, your hotel accommodation in the testing center,
Mm-hmm.
the testing fees,
Mm-hmm.
credential evaluation. All of those things would cost between $3,500 to $5,000. If you pass the exams, the nursing board exams, the staffing agency will refund all of that back to you. And so
Oh wow.
it's really not that big of a risk. I mean, you're basically betting on yourself that you're going to pass the exams. And if you don't pass the exams, I mean, you can take it again, but obviously at an additional expense. And so it becomes important that you take the prep course seriously, the first time and pass it the first time. And if when you do that and you pass it, then all of those will be refunded back to you during the process. So you're not paying anything to actually go through that process.
Oh, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Okay, Millicent, hi, how are you? She says, what about agriculture field workers?
Yeah, the anomaly is sheep herders, you know, which is a weird thing, but sheep herders in the same boat as nurses and physical therapists. They all Schedule A workers. There's a special visa for agricultural workers, but it's a temporary visa where they come here on a temporary basis and work, and work in the agricultural sector, and then they return when that period is over. But currently, there isn't any kind of an immigrant visa for specifically for agricultural workers that I know of.
Okay. Akria says, I think what information system would be a good program to apply for residency permit.
Um, I think it depends on what you're doing with that. There's a lot of tech companies that are hiring. One of the largest
Tech
population
companies, yeah.
of Indians get H-1B visas, and Amazon and Facebook and Google. And I have a lot of friends who came here as international students that are working for Netflix, Amazon, Airbnb. These tech companies, and they'll be able to sponsor you depending on what exactly you're doing for them. And so, if you're going to be doing something in IT, it'd be a good idea for you to be specialized, or maybe even get an advanced degree that would optimize your chances of getting selected for it.
Hmm. And the salaries seem to be quite good.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. In Amazon, the starting salary for somebody with a bachelor's degree is about $80,000, dollars a year,
Yeah, so,
which is not bad. It's not bad. I mean, certainly more than you would make in Ghana, or other parts.
100%.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Okay, how does it work for Ghanaian trained doctors, please? What about doctors?
Yeah, they have to take the steps, the boards. So I think there's 3 steps exam that they have to take. They take those 3 board exams, and when they pass, they have to match into a residency program in the U.S. And then once they match into a residency program, they come here on a J1 visa, and then they do their residency. And once they graduate from residency, it's extremely easy. I mean, doctors are in the same boat as nurses. There's a huge need for doctors in the U.S.
Okay.
And so I haven't seen any doctor that has had to go home for lack of a visa after they've graduated residency. It's almost certain that especially if you're flexible on where you want to work. There's a huge need for doctors in rural parts of America, and there's a specific visa for that as well, where if you work in a rural area for I think 5 years, you can get a
Mhm.
green card, based on that.
Really?
For doctors specifically.
For doctors? Wow, wow, wow. Okay, somebody says, what about health informatics graduate program?
Yeah, I mean, there's job specific things. Again, it comes down to what the need of these occupations are in the U.S. And so you first of all have to figure out whether or not there's a huge need for them. If there's employers that are willing to sponsor people in those fields, and at the end of the day, it's business, right? If the employer can satisfy their hiring needs in the U.S., they have no need to go hire foreign workers. And there is a misconception that companies that recruit foreign workers tend to pay them less. That's not true, because your wages are set by the Department of Labor, with a prevailing wage determination.
Okay.
So the Department of Labor, via the prevailing wage determination, tells the employer what the minimum they can pay you based on your locale where you're staying and your education and qualification criteria. And for obvious reasons, we have those things in place so that employers don't abuse immigrants and foreign workers.
Mm,
So from the employer's perspective, the only reason why they would hire a foreign worker is if they're not able to find somebody in the U.S. to take those jobs.
interesting. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up? Obviously, I've got lawyers' details that I'm sharing with you. Good evening, Mary. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, I mean, we've spoken about a few things, a few immigration stuff. We've spoken about citizenship, abused spouse petition. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, that one is near and dear to my heart. you know, um, when people get married to when you're entering a marriage and the other person feels like they have some sort of leverage over you because they're petitioning for a visa for you or they're sponsoring you, unfortunately sometimes it lends itself to abuse, right? Where one person feels like they have leverage over you and they can treat you anyhow without any real consequences. So there's a program called VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act. Now it does say women, but it applies to both sexes. It's not exclusive to women. Where if you are in an abusive relationship with a U.S. citizen, you can apply for a VAWA, and if your VAWA application is approved, you may be able to get a green card based on that. I have my most recent one was a client from Liberia who was in one of these married to a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen terribly abused her. I'm talking physically abused her, and she came to see us, and we applied for a VAWA, and we recently last week applied for a green card, and she's on track to get it.
Wow.
And she's already got her work permit based on that. She came to the U.S. on a B1 B2 visa, overstayed her visa by a long time, and so her husband knew that he was her only way of permanent
Yeah.
He took advantage of that and always said,
Abused
what are you going to do, right? You need me, but you don't. If you're in an abusive relationship, I hope none of you are, but if you are, you can, through the VAWA program, you're able to get permanent residency, and you don't need to put up with that, and you don't need to be in that situation.
Fantastic. That is really good. And then let me see if we've gone through everything. Did we talk about finance petition?
Yeah, we did talk about it, yeah.
Okay. Family base. Yeah, I think we've kind of spoken about everything. Is there any more questions? Okay. But let's get my messages. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I think you're going to have to deal with that personally offline then. Persistence.
Okay, my daughter has completed her first degree and has been offered a place for her second degree. Our issue is that her F1 visa expires this month, but wants to come to Ghana for Christmas. What are her chances of renewal of her visa in the US before coming to Ghana?
There's a couple of things you can do.
I saw you breathe in, but
well, I mean, the timeline is short.
It's short, yeah.
We're 1 month before, Anyway, there's a couple of things she could do, although I don't know how feasible they would be. But she could apply for an advanced parole. Advanced parole sort of gives you a one-way ticket back into the U.S. after you leave. So she could apply for one of those, and it takes a long time for those to be granted. Now you can ask for them to be expedited, but you have to state, a good reason as to why you're requesting for it to be expedited. Her other option is to get her visa renewed. The third option is that for F1 students, F1 visa holders specifically, they do have a CVS record. And so as long as the CVS record is active, if the second place is giving her an I-20, she can, use that to enter a CVS record to enter the U.S. Based on that. That's a risky proposition. My suggestion would be to get your visa renewed or be able to get the travel authorization document.
Well, say Ghana December. What I say? So they want to be in Ghana for December.
Well, yeah. I mean, you should have. I mean, if if you had if you thought you were going to go to Ghana in December, what was go Ghana in December now? Or started planning, you find said, by spring, right?
Yeah.
Spring. I mean, by December you should have it, but having this conversation in October is too late. In my opinion, I think it's too late at this point, but it's still worth a try. Yeah.
Definitely. And one last question for me. If you have a work permit, can that lead to you having a residency permit at some point?
Well, it depends on what your work permit is based on. So every work permit has to have an underlining basis.
Okay.
So if you're in removal proceedings, if you, let's say you cross the border illegally and you get arrested and you're you get bonded out and you're waiting to go to court, you can get a work permit, so that you can work while your case is pending in court. That work permit does not give you permanent residency. It's just to allow you to be able to fend for yourself, while you're waiting for your case to be decided.
Okay.
If you get a work permit based on marriage, say if you married a U.S. citizen and they petition for you, and you have a pending green card application, you may be able to get a work permit based on that. And obviously, once your green card comes in, you don't need the work permit anymore. If you apply for asylum, you can get a work permit based on asylum application. But again, unless you win your asylum case, that's not going to translate into a green card. So it depends on what your work permit is based on, the underlying petition.
Wow, that's great. It's been a great conversation, very insightful. I think I've learned a lot. I don't know if there's anything that we've missed out that you want to share, but we will be having regular conversations with Doc. We'll probably delve into one topic at a time and go into it in full detail. But if you are interested in his legal services, his details are there. I'm sure you're going to get calls and messages, lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's my my details, and like I said, the purpose of this one is to get the message out there that there's several other options besides marriage. I think the common misconception is that so worry will be ansana when green card. That's false, and quite often people get into these marriages that tend to create more problems for them than
because they didn't really want to marry that person. It was just for the green card, right?
Right, and that's a terrible position to be in.
Yeah.
And so there's several other options out there. I will be more than happy to discuss and share those options with you. Shoot me an email. We'll schedule a free 30-minute conversation, and I will tell you everything that I think about your specific situation. But as we go on and we have these freaking conversations, I'm going to be looking at the comment sections on when you post this on your YouTube, and I will take one of those topics in the comments to delve into it more when we do it. So that's how I'll be selecting the topics. And so if you have any questions, nothing specific, if don't discuss anything personal specific there, but general immigration questions, I can pick topics from those and make it into an educated point, to discuss.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doc. This has been really, really useful. And I know that my audience have enjoyed the conversation as well. Like I said, we will be having more conversations with Lawyer Douglas. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. He is also on social media, Diamondback Legal, on Instagram. Please follow him there as well, the company. And you have his email and telephone number as well. So guys, any questions, please do let him know. But in the comments box, make sure that you put down whatever topic that you think that we should discuss the next time that we have a conversation. Thank you, Lawyer Douglas Kouffie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome, Nantais. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. And one of these days, when you're in the US, we could do a lot of things.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So hopefully I'll see you soon as well. Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay, I hope that you have enjoyed the conversation. It's been great. And I think, if you do have immigration issues that you would like to discuss with the lawyer, I think that you should get in touch with him. So if you are a nurse, a doctor, or have a special skill, he will be able to help you. migrate to the US, to get a green card or residency permit, etc. He says it's not just about marriage to get your green card, but there's other ways that you can do that. Yes, Helen, tell them about the Goober Awards. Yes, the Goober Awards is happening on the 5th of November. I hope that all of you can join us. Come in your numbers. Let's celebrate success of individuals and companies that have excelled in their businesses. And I hope that you can all join me. If you haven't already purchased your ticket, please go on the Goober Awards website and support us. As you know, I have a lot of friends, a lot of friends. And I'm sorry, but I won't be able to give everybody a free ticket. Otherwise, the place will be full with my friends. And so these things are very difficult when you're putting on events. And so I'm urging everybody to purchase a ticket. If you want to sponsor the awards, we are still looking for sponsorship and support in that aspect. So please do get in touch. Please support the cause. It's happening in the UK at the Grosvenor House Hotel. It's going to be a night of fantastic celebration. And I hope that you can all join me. And has everybody, who's coming to Ghana in December? Hello, who's coming to Ghana? We've got the Goober Cruise. We're having another cruise to Akosombo on the Dodi Princess. That's happening on the 24th of December. We've got the Goober Diaspora Conversation, which is happening on the 2nd of January. And we hope that you guys will come in your numbers. And I've just seen that Afrofuture have announced the video will be performing in Ghana. I'm unavailable. They've didn't see me. So all of you who are coming to Ghana, I can't wait to see you guys. And thank you so much for watching tonight's show. I will see you later. God bless you all. God protect you all. And see you next time. Bye-bye.